Welcome back, 2K Crew. This is Turbo, and if you're still watching on YouTube, it's only me. Hopefully, here in the next couple weeks, once this thing lifts, we'll get 2K's back in the studio, so it feels a little bit more, just all around better. We 2K's is still on the horn, so you're not just gonna get me for an hour. You got him as well. And if this is your first time listening, let us know. Let us know. Drop us a comment. Tell us you're new. I'd love to meet you and see some of your insights on the topic today, which is 2Ks. We have something actually sports related to fucking talk about.
Yeah, yeah.
How badass is that? And if you don't know what we're talking about, I'm not sure you're a real sports fan, but the NFL draft. And 2Ks, I'm pretty sure that I watched more of this draft than I have any other draft in the history of drafts. Just
Yeah,
because
same
there's.
here. I driving my wife crazy. Just because that was like I would not change it up the channel. And she was like, "You're seriously going to watch this for 3 days?" And I was like,
Yeah.
"I'm seriously going to watch this for 3 days."
Yeah, and I'm probably going to have at least a half of a boner during the whole thing.
Oh
So,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Yeah. And so today we're just going to break down the draft, give you our thoughts on everything. There were some very odd picks, but I mean there were some of them that went really chalk, and not a lot of trades this year. I don't know if that had to do with the doing it remotely, or people were just set with what they wanted. So we did see
Mhm.
some, but not a whole lot, especially in the top of the draft where everyone thought that teams were going to trade up to get either Tua or another quarterback or excuse me. And even it was highly speculated that the Lions would trade down. The Giants might have traded down. The Giants have never traded down ever, so that would have been a pretty big deal for them. So there was all this hype, and then pretty much everything went according to plan. So yeah, let's jump into it, and pretty sure the first pick, I mean, is not a shock to anybody. Joe Burrow going to the Bengals. I mean, that was I'm pretty sure everyone once the draft order was established, this guy was going first regardless. So
Mhm.
he's probably been shopping for black and orange clothes for quite a while now. So yeah, I mean they're the number one pick for a reason, and they're a very bad team. And I don't think it was Carson Palmer's fault that they're a bad team. But there's a lot of Bengals folks that would say that they really didn't like him there in the first place. Um, they coming off of the Carson Palmer years with Ocho Cinco, and that offense was pretty legit for a long time. The defense was pretty legit. So they made the coaching change, which I think kind of took everyone not really by surprise, but it is what it is. And now Mr. Burrow is leading that team, and I think Cincinnati is going to have a great quarterback, a better quarterback than Andy Dalton for sure. And they have, they're not lacking weapons on the offensive side. So I think this team's on the rise. Their defense really has never been the problem area. It's usually the offense. So what do you
Mhm.
think, 2Ks?
I mean, to me, was the obvious pick. He's coming off of arguably the best college season of all time. The numbers that he put up. Really, the only knock that I can come up with for Joe Burrow is that we were only able to see it for 1 year. Because he did start off at Ohio State, then transferred to LSU, and then last season with LSU, the numbers just, I mean, what just were not there. And
Right.
then this season, he just went off and gave us, he was, the no-brainer Heisman Trophy winner, and the season that he had was just it was unlike any season that we've ever seen. And then went on to win the national championship, and had the perfect season. So to me, he's going into like you said, defense. I don't think is really a problem there. You're also getting AJ Green coming back, for at least a year. Hopefully he'll be healthy. I mean, anytime that you get a bona fide number one receiver back, I mean, that's pretty much better than any picks you can get in this draft.
Yeah, because healthy. I mean,
And then also,
he's a top five pick or a top five receiver when healthy. So it's proven.
yes,
I totally agree.
yes. Yep. And then he's got a very good running back. You know, that will make his job as coming in there as a new quarterback, and then, you know, obviously picking up a new offense. Well, when you have a running back, you know, like they have there, that's going to make the job for him a lot easier.
Yeah, and with a good running back, usually comes a good offensive line as well. So yeah, I I think that you know, they're in a really odd division where you know, everyone saw Baltimore just take off last year, but I'm not saying Burrow is the, you know, the ultimate answer, because the reason number one is they sucked a lot last year.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think they're too far away from contending for a wild card. And, you know, if Burrow pans out, I mean, they could be competing for that division title again. And you never know what could happen to Lamar and all of that. And we'll get to some of their the Ravens picks later, because I'm really impressed with their picks. But yeah, obvious slam dunk. I mean, I really don't think there's been a quarterback prospect that has been just so polished since Andrew Luck.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and there were so many rumors running around about, you know, the Bengals being Bengals and fucking this whole thing up, and either trading the pick away or picking someone, you know, completely different. So all of the Bengals fans out there, I think they got it right.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And Andrew Luck was, or not Andrew Luck, but Andy Dalton was, you know, he was very, very good for them for a lot of years.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think that it's time for him to see some new scenery and get another chance.
Yep.
And, you know, and he just wasn't able, he was able to get them to the playoffs multiple times. He just was never able to win the big game, win a playoff game. And so I think it's best for both parties. I think it's good obviously for Cincinnati to move on. And you know, this is a new, you know, it's a new time for them with a brand new quarterback. And then I want to see Andy Dalton get another shot.
I do too.
Be the guy for another team. And I really think that it might not happen this first season for him, but I think that he will get another shot to be a starting quarterback again.
I 100% agree. 100% agree. Well, before we move on to pick 2, everybody in and around the Marcellus area, don't forget to check out Drop Anchor Tavern in Marcellus. Give them a call, get some takeout, help them because they're helping us. Help all your local businesses, but in particular, give the folks at Drop Anchor a call, 269-646-2525. Go on their Facebook, look at their hours, look at their menu, give them a shout. Tell them Turbo and 2K sent you. And again, big shout out Drop Anchor Tavern and Chris and Gary Zeed and the staff over there. Well, the number 2 pick, I think, I'm not sure if the Redskins are trying to make an Ohio State team, but they have some very good pieces from past Ohio State teams, and they went Chase Young, which I think arguably is the best football player in this draft. And
hands down, I think for sure he is the best player in this draft.
Yeah, and I could just imagine the Lions fans sitting at pick 3, and if the Redskins did draft Tua, which there was rumors that they were going to do that, having Chase Young fall to number 3 to the Lions would excite the hell out of Lions fans. But I think I think, you know, I would hate to see that, because it seems like all the good players that the Lions acquire somehow retire early, or they just go there to die. So I'm glad I'm glad Chase Young is reunited with his brethren over in from Ohio State, excuse me, at the Redskins. I mean, to me, this was a no-brainer. I mean, some could argue that taking him number 1 would have made sense, but I think the needs of the Bengals, they pretty much had to take a quarterback. But any of the 32 teams get better with Chase Young. And yeah, he's with Haskins, and now there's a receiver there too that's from Ohio State. So yeah, it's like they're accruing these Ohio State players. But everyone was talking about, the biggest knock on Young was towards the end of the season, how quote unquote inefficient he was. But if you if you look at any of the tape, they're double and sometimes triple teaming this dude, and no one's going to be productive when they're paying that much attention to you. I don't care who you are. And kudos to Ohio State for producing yet another D end that goes in the top 3. We had both the Bosas and now Chase Young, and I think Chase Young is better than both of the Bosa brothers. So, and you look at the success those dudes have had so far, even early in their career. Wow, that's really saying something. And if Haskins gets everything turned around, I mean, the Redskins can be kind of a dangerous team, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your thoughts on Chase Young to the Redskins, Mr. 2Ks?
Well, being a Cowboys fan, and so Cowboys are going to have to play against them twice, every season. So I'm sure that Dak was probably not all that happy about him ending up there, and I don't think any quarterback in that division is going to be very happy seeing him there. No, I think it's very similar to last year's draft. The best player in last year's draft was the number 2 overall pick in Bosa, and in this draft, Chase Young, number 2 pick overall, just so happens to be that he's from Ohio State also, but he's the best player in the draft. I think that it's such a quarterback-driven league, and you have to have a quarterback to win. To have a Super Bowl caliber team. So that's why you see, the first pick being a guy like Joe Burrow. I mean, and it's hard to argue, that he isn't the best player in the draft. But as far as, I'm saying I call Chase Young the best player in the draft because I feel like he is the biggest sure thing. And a lot of these quarterbacks are not sure things. They're very good in college, but to carry that over to the pro level, sometimes it doesn't work out. With pass rushers and a defensive end like a Chase Young, to me he's the closest thing to a sure thing that you can find in this draft, and that's to me why he is the number 1 player in it.
And I can't argue any of that because I totally agree. Now, speaking of the Lions, every Lions fan out there will tell you that every time the draft comes around, they get super scared because they have no idea what the fuck the Lions are going to do. You look, you rewind. I don't know how many years ago they took wide receivers with their first-round pick for 3 straight years. Granted, they did get Megatron out of it, but 1 out of 3, that's not unless you're playing baseball, that's not good numbers. That's not good numbers. But you called this one. I'm pretty sure this was your pick for the Lions. Jeff Okudah out of Ohio State, the corner. And it was a pick that they drastically needed help in, especially since they traded away Darius Slay. That defensive backfield it needs help. It needs help, and there was a lot of people thinking that they would go. Was it Isaiah Simmons out of Clemson, the linebacker? There was a lot of pub that he would go to the Lions, and I think I had him going to the Lions as well. But you hit on this one in particular, and I think it's a great pick for the Lions, and the Lions did not fuck this up. I really don't think they did.
No, absolutely not. I mean, he's the best defensive back in the draft, hands down. I was looking at a crazy statistic before the draft even started that he went through the entire season last year without picking up any penalty. Didn't have a pass interference penalty, didn't have a holding penalty. To me, that's just crazy.
That's a great
especially
stat.
Playing in the Big Ten, where there's some pretty damn good teams in the Big Ten that that he was tested a lot, and to not have any penalties, and then also be the number 1 guy in the Big Ten, so says a lot about him. To me, the Lions they hit this draft pick. It's just too bad that everything as far as their coaches and Lions management, and they had to, basically shit the bed with Slay and run Slay out of town and trade him away for basically fucking nothing.
Right.
Because it would have been pretty special to watch both of these guys, suit up for the Lions every Sunday. talk about, turning a defense around, that would have been, having a secondary with both of those guys in it would have been a big deal. But now, you get rid of Slay, who was your best player on the team, and you're getting Nakuda. It was the right. It's the best pick for him. But it's always the same thing with Lions. It's always the what if, the what if factors.
And just looking at it from face value, I mean, a corner's not a sexy pick. A corner's not a running back that's going to get you, a Lions team that hasn't had 1,000-yard rusher in like 100 years. And it's not a quarterback, where I thought that if the Lions went quarterback here, they would be completely ridiculous. I don't understand the hate for Stafford. I really don't. All the dude does is throw for 5,000 yards every season to mediocre. I mean, Galladay's coming up and is becoming a vital part of that offense, but it's not a scary receiving core. They're not going to rush for 100 yards every game. So it's definitely not on the Lions losing is definitely not on the shoulders of Stafford. I mean, obviously, this last year didn't play a lot, and so it was backup quarterbacks. But I'm not a Lions fan, so I guess I don't understand the hatred for Stafford. I look at Stafford as probably one of the top 5 fantasy quarterbacks with all the yards and touchdowns and shit that he gets. So I don't see the hate. I don't see the hate, but the Lions on their number 1 pick. If you're a Lions fan, you cannot bitch about this pick because this kid's gonna be awesome. I really do. I really think so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree.
And pick number 4, we've got the New York Football Giants, and they went offensive tackle from Georgia, Mr. Andrew Thomas. And I think
this was the first kind of shocking pick to me. I thought. I'm not surprised at all that they went offensive line because I figured that they would, but I thought that there was, at least 2 or 3 guys on the board that I would have had coming off before Andrew Thomas.
Yes,
but,
yes.
Then again, we said that last year about the Giants went with their quarterback pick, and that turned out to be, a pretty good pick for them.
Yeah, and you have 2 very young stars on that offense that would greatly appreciate and are going to flourish because of the offensive line. You got Danny Dimes and you got Saquon Barkley. And yeah, they definitely needed to shore up that offensive line because you don't want, I mean, Daniel Jones is going into his 2nd year and you kind of want him upright because it's easier to throw the ball when you're standing up instead of on your ass. And Saquon Barkley's a beast. He's gone 1,000 yards his first years with a shitty offensive line. If you can imagine him with a great offensive line, wow. So yeah, it's definitely a need that they had to address, and it didn't. The player that when it comes to tackles and stuff like that, there has to be in the player interviews and stuff. We all see the shit that's on tape and everything, and what I think is happening or why everyone grades players differently, and I really think it comes down to the interaction they have with the players and how they'd fit their system and shit like that. So that's my thinking on why they went Thomas instead of, like you said, there's a lot of great offensive linemen in this draft, and especially towards the top. I mean, how that one kid is huge, and we'll get to his name later. But yeah, set the 40 for he's the fastest dude over 320 pounds to go through the combine. So, and just watching.
You're talking about Mackie Becton.
Yes, and watching some of his tape. Wow, I mean that dude can move. But the Giants must have saw something in Thomas that they really really liked and pulled the trigger on it.
Yep.
And then number 5, this is like we started the show out. We thought that there would be, the Dolphins moving up to, like the Lions pick or somewhere in there to make sure they get their guy. Or even the Chargers at number 6. And everything stayed pat. I mean, for the first 4 picks, everything went pretty much according to chalk. I mean, everything was set up, and even at number 5, the Dolphins pulled the trigger on Tua, and like it was, I think it was the last, I don't know, it was a couple episodes ago when we talked about if drafting Tua this high was a good risk, bad risk. You and I kind of disagreed on that, but they pulled the trigger anyway. And for their sake, and for Tua's sake, and hell, for football's sake, I hope this kid comes back and is just as good as he was at Bama, because he's got an electric arm. He's very mobile, but the point that you brought up, he's left-handed. So
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be some growing pains and adjustments, probably not only between him and the receivers and the running backs, because I mean, even the running back, a lot of times the handoffs coming from a different side with a left-handed player, and is either you or I brought up in the last episode, is that your left tackle now essentially becomes your right tackle because it's a different blind side. So there's going to be some adjustments there, but I think if like I said, football needs Tua to be healthy. I really do.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so upside, downside, I mean, we kind of talked about the Tua pick for, like I said in a previous episode. So kind of give the crew your 5 cents on Mr. Tua Tagovailoa.
Yeah, I mean, the ability with him is he has the ability. That's a no-brainer. I'm not going to argue that with anybody. But the problem with him is, I touched on it last week, that he is left-handed, and to me, the way that schemes in the NFL are brought up and everything, you just don't see it. So that scares me. How long is it going to take for a team to basically change everything?
Mm-hmm.
And going into this season, we don't necessarily know when it's going to be that these players are going to be able to, get together and start working on things. With everything going on with COVID, how long into this off season is it going to be until these guys are able to actually suit up and be with each other, and being able to run these plays out. So that scares me as far as for the first year. And then the injuries. I mean, he was injured all the time at Alabama, and it wasn't just a 1-year thing. It was basically every year that he was there. So for him to have injury problems like that year in, year out, who's to say it's not just going to carry over to the NFL and he's going to be hurt all the time there? And to me, you can be able to throw the football as good as you want and make all these throws and have the arm strength and be as accurate as Drew Brees, but if you're not healthy, you're not any good.
Right.
And to me, that's the best trait in being a quarterback in the NFL is you have to be durable.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And like I said, especially for the Dolphins' sake, because they haven't had a good quarterback since Marino, it seems like. And getting back to your left-handed quarterbacks, you and I were talking about the last one that we could remember playing, and the official, or the left-handed quarterback that played the most recently is your boy Kellen Moore.
Yeah.
Which I totally forgot.
He's drawing up plays.
Yeah, I totally forgot he was left-handed, but he now once Tua gets on the field, he'll be the most recent one, but they're just not around that often. And like I said, I totally forgot Kellen Moore was left-handed, so just thought I'd pass that on to you, 2Ks.
Yep.
And then number 6, pretty much in free agency, every team addressed their quarterback needs if they needed one, except for 2 teams, and that being 3 teams. The Bengals, the Dolphins, and the Chargers. Those were even though I'm still not buying this Tyrod Taylor is going to be the quarterback, and I'm not buying that.
No.
But the Chargers get their guy, Justin Herbert, a quarterback from Oregon. Now I'm curious, is that if the Dolphins would have taken Herbert and not Tua, would the Chargers still pull? Do you think the Chargers would have pulled the trigger on Tua?
I think so. The things that we've been able to see, Tua do in college and the throws and how accurate he really is. I think that the Chargers they desperately needed to get their guy at, to get a quarterback, whether they were going to plug him in and start him year one, or just get somebody in the quarterback room to have a plan for the next year or two. They needed to get that guy, and to me, they would have been they would have not been able to pass up on a talent like Tua.
No, I 100% agree. Or maybe they would have went another route with, one of the other quarterbacks.
Jordan Love or something.
Yeah, exactly. But in my opinion, I think Justin Herbert's the second best quarterback in the draft. And getting back to your, the best ability is availability. And that's one of the knocks that you brought up on with Tua is he's hurt all the damn time. And Herbert's probably probably the second best, polished passer that was a lot of P's, but polished passer in the draft. I don't think he got as much recognition as he should have, maybe just because he is in Oregon, which is not in, the SEC, it's in the Pac-12. So we rarely see the games, and it's not the Oregon, up-tempo Chip Kelly run where everything's fast and exciting. So I think that kind of had a little bit to do with it. But if you were to put Herbert in the SEC, I think he might have been fighting with Burrow to get that number one slot. But as far as a player goes, I think the Chargers got the best guy that's going to fit their system, fit their needs. And like I said, in getting back to your point, he's probably the safer pick than Tua. So.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, I think they got their guy, and he's got some talent around him for sure. Gordon's not there any longer, but what's the other dude? Eckler? No. The Chargers running back.
Oh, Eckler, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, even when Gordon was gone, or even when Gordon came back, he was primarily the primary back and tore it up. I mean, especially fantasy-wise, hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a very good feeling that, with the moving on from Phillip Rivers, I think Herbert fills that slot amazingly. And hopefully he has a little bit more successful career than Rivers, but still Rivers had a very nice career with the Chargers, and he's now in Indy, which we'll get to Indy here in a little bit. But moving on from there, the Panthers picked up Derek Brown, defensive tackle from Auburn. This dude's a beast. I mean,
yes, he is.
Watching that big of a man do what he does, wow. I mean,
as far as just football talent, he possibly could be the second best player in this draft. In my opinion, behind Chase Young.
Yeah.
And then as far as day one, as soon as he steps foot out on that field, he's going to be able to, be one of those number one guys on the D line. He's going to be a kind of a guy that starts playing and getting significant snaps right off the bat.
Oh, I 100% agree. He's going to walk into that room and just he's one of those game-changing dudes that can change a game, snap by snap, and just be a total wrecking crew on that defensive line. And Carolina, their offense, I mean, they just signed McCaffrey to a huge deal. They got receivers, they got their run. I mean, McCaffrey's probably their leading receiver and rusher, it seems like. But yeah, they're moving on from Cam. So, but I think that Carolina's usually always been known for that, Ron Rivera defense. Everything's just badass. So I know Rivera's not there any longer, but I have a feeling that same mentality is still there. So this pick fits very, very nicely.
Mm-hmm.
And we mentioned his name already, and I'm kind of shocked that he fell to number 8 to the Cardinals, is Isaiah Simmons, linebacker from Clemson. And you talk about versatility. This dude can play linebacker, safety, probably, free safety, probably could play corner if you wanted him to. Just an all-out fucking athlete. All-out athlete. And if you look at the athleticism of the players of the Cardinals, I know this guy's defense, but you look at all of those I mean, Kyler Murray is a fantastic athlete. Hell, he was drafted in the first round of football and baseball. So that tells you a lot. You've got, I know Fitzgerald's getting long in the tooth, but the dude is a crazy athlete. DeAndre Hopkins comes over, and now with this kid, I mean, just the football talent that's in Arizona. If they don't start winning, I'm going to be shocked. I'm going to be shocked because the GM and the hierarchy there is putting together something that is, of course, everyone has to stay healthy. But if everything brews out the way they want it to, this team could be dangerous for quite a few years.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you were pretty high on Simmons, 2Ks. What are your thoughts on him going to the Cardinals?
Oh, I think it's a great pick. I think it's a great pick. I honestly thought that we were going to see him go. I thought for sure he was going to go 7 to Carolina, just because Carolina obviously losing Kuechly.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that Isaiah Simmons was going to be the perfect pick to be kind of the next, linebacker, big name linebacker there, because Kuechly held it down there for so many years. But yeah, like you said, he can play. He can pass rush. He can play in play inside as a linebacker and match up on tight ends, and then running backs out of the backfield. He can play safety. He can basically do it all on defense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's definitely a Swiss Army knife if you want to think about it like that. But yeah, moving on to pick number 9, Jacksonville Jaguars. They picked up C.J. Henderson, corner from Florida. And Jacksonville's one of those teams where, going back historically, it's pretty much defense. And watching this kid's tape, I mean, Florida had the turnover chain, and this dude seems like he was constantly wearing it. And again, a freak athlete. This obviously the second best corner in the draft. So Jacksonville's a team, I think, that has a lot of holes that they needed to fill and that we're looking to fill. And obviously going corner, getting someone that can, get put on that island, if you will, is never a bad choice. And I'm pretty sure that they're trying to get that defense back to where it was. And I think this is a good step forward. What do you think?
I love it. I love this pick. This is actually the kid that I was hoping that would fall in the draft to Dallas, because I wanted, a playmaking defensive back that could, force turnovers at Dallas, because we all know that Dallas doesn't have that on their defense. And but for Jacksonville, I think it's the perfect fit. They traded away Ramsey, and I think that this kid is. I'm not saying he's going to step in and be the next Jalen Ramsey, but I think he's going to be awfully close.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out a way to dispute that, and I can't. And it seems like Florida's been putting out amazing defensive talents, left and right in the past few years, and Henderson just falls right into that mold. And I probably that turnover chain is as annoying as it is, especially when they played Notre Dame a couple years ago, but still it's something that's really neat, that very very unique. Any motivation like that is pretty cool, and I'm sure, like I said, CJ wore that thing a lot, so obviously his neck muscles are very very in shape, because that thing looks heavy as shit. All right, well let's move to the Cleveland Browns, and Mr. Kurt Hanneberg's team picked up Jedrick Willis, tackle from Alabama. Yep. You got, Cleveland has a good running game. They have Baker Mayfield. They've got wide receivers for days, it seems like. But it seems like Baker's running around constantly because the line is shit. So, and you can never go wrong with a big Alabama tackle, it seems like. So this to me filled a very very gaping hole in that Browns offense. And that Nick Saban pedigree, dude's used to winning, and like going into last season, everyone was jumped on the old bandwagon for the Browns, saying they're going to win the division and they're gonna make the playoffs. And I was like, all right, calm down. Can we go 500 first? And I think they were very underwhelming for a lot of people that were expecting, with the flip of a switch, that they just go off and, like I said, just compete for the division. Hell, they didn't compete for anything, it seems like. So hopefully, Mr. Willis plugs a hole so Browns fans can see the number one overall pick Baker do his thing, and all of the running backs that are there. And I mean, Nick Chubb's a beast, so let's see if he can he can take advantage of Mr. Willis as well. What are your thoughts?
Yep, totally agree. This is kind of where I thought the Giants were going to go, and I know back when we did our mock draft, what was that, 5-6 weeks ago at least, probably a little bit longer than that. I had Wills going 4 overall to the Giants. To me, he's the best offensive lineman in this draft, and I think that the Browns got a gift handed to them to be able to get him all the way down to 10th spot.
Yeah, and it's pretty crazy, but I think football would be better if the Browns were more competitive. However, for every Browns fan, there's probably 5 people that want to see the Browns fail and just be shitty and go winless again. And I think a lot of it has to do with Baker Mayfield, and there's a lot of people that just fed up with Baker. But back before, back in the old days with the Browns and Bernie Kosar and shit like that, they were good. They were winning playoff games. Did they ever win the Super Bowl in my lifetime? No. But they were more competitive, and the dog pound there in Cleveland, like I said, tackle's not a sexy spot. It's not a sexy pick, but you know what? You got to make these picks to protect your sexy picks that you took a while ago. So,
yep.
And again, I'm more excited to see what Nick Chubb does. I've always been a Nick Chubb fan.
Absolutely.
And see if OBJ can keep his mouth shut and actually have a productive season. And I think that the tackle pick is going to help give Baker some more time, so he's not running for his life and can actually throw the ball. So it's good. And Brown's defense has never been the question. Never been the question. So we shall see where the Fighting Kurt Hannebergs, where they end up, and sticking with the offensive tackles. I mean, this is a kid that I was talking about. I think the Jets go Mekhi Becton from Louisville, and wasn't he the one too that put up the 225 like 45 fucking times or something like that?
Yeah.
Something just crazy. I mean, the kid's a crazy athlete.
6'7", 364.
Yeah.
Also, and then to be able to, run like the way that we saw him in the combine. It's just a freak of nature.
Could you imagine his grocery bill? I wouldn't want to feed him. I wouldn't. I mean, he walks into the student rec house and just piles. I mean, the people working in there are probably like, well, fuck. We're used to football players, but no one this fucking big. And like I said, strong and agile as hell for a big man. So again, the Jets are protecting their pick in Sam Darnold, and I'm sure Le'Veon Bell is going to enjoy that pick as well. So
yeah, I think that Bell will like this pick also. And to me, I think it's another. I said that the Browns kind of got a gift on getting Wills. I think the Jets got a gift on being able to get him, because I think that the Jets going into this draft probably had to be thinking that both Wills and Beckham were going to be off the board before they were picking.
Right.
I kind of thought that Wills would end up with the Giants, and then Beckham would fall to the Browns, and then you'd see the Jets with possibly the guy that the Giants ended up getting. So, in my opinion, I think that him falling down to the 11th spot to the Jets is a pretty good gift for him.
Yeah, and like I said, he's probably one of the most gifted athletes in this draft. Just some of the shit that he can does blows my mind. So yeah, Cody, there's your Jets pick. I don't want to hear you bitching. Yes, again, it's not a sexy pick. Yes, Cody, I'm talking to you right now. It's not a sexy pick, but it's protecting your sexy pick. So shut up, enjoy it. I know. All
Yeah,
Jets
no.
fans do during the draft is boo anyway. So what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do now? This draft class was set up to be the wide receiver draft class. You know, the receivers are gonna fly off the board, which they did. But
Oh yeah.
I think the way that they came about was a little bit different than what some folks had. I actually thought that once someone took the first receiver, they were just going to start flying off the board, which really didn't happen that way. And the Raiders at pick 12 kind of broke the mold with the Henry Ruggs the third out of Alabama, one of a few wide receivers from Alabama to get taken. This one was kind of the first like, okay, I didn't have Ruggs my as the number one receiver. I did not. I had C.D.
No.
Lamb. Or no, I had Jerry Jeudy. Excuse me, Jerry Jeudy. Same team,
Mm-hmm.
Alabama. The only thing that Ruggs can do that those C.D. Lamb and Jerry Jeudy can do is he can take the top off of defense like no one's business. And then I got to thinking, I'm like, all right, well the Raiders love speed, and I don't think it's a bad pick. It just he wouldn't have been the first one that I would have went with.
Yep. Totally agree.
But yeah, that was the first kind of head scratcher of the draft, and I think there's a lot of people that were in the same boat as you and I. However, receiver was a good choice here. I think. Obviously, they took
Mm-hmm.
Jacobs last year, so the running game is legit. I'm still a fan of Carr. I think he he's a very very good quarterback. I'm not gonna say he's top 10, but could he be top 10? Yeah, I really do think so. Hell, he was almost an MVP a few years ago before he broke his leg. So
Mm-hmm.
we know he can do it. Given a weapon like this is only going to help him and Jacobs because now with a guy like this, you can't crowd the box. This dude will take the top off, and next thing you know, Carr's, you know, getting a 30, 40-yard pass for a touchdown. So it's going to open up the offense a lot, and I like the pick. Just I would have went a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, I really don't think you can. I mean, you're grasping at straws when you with three top receivers like this. Which one do you take? And like I said, the only thing that separates Ruggs from the other two is speed, and he's faster than. And I'm not saying the other two guys are slow, but it seems like he has the ability, like I said, to take the top off the defense just a little bit better than the other two. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you on the speed part. He's obviously the fastest one there, but as far as I think I probably had him ranked at least at three, maybe even below three.
Mm-hmm.
I'm same as you, Jerry Jeudy number one, C.D. Lamb number two. I mean, I get it. The speed is the him being fast and running that 4.2, that is sexy. And then, but I just when you get to the NFL, you got to be a polished receiver to have a lot of success. And you look at Jerry Jeudy and his route running ability and
Mm-hmm.
his him being able to get himself open. And the same thing can be said for C.D. Lamb. That's what separates them from just being a good receiver to being a great receiver. And I don't think we'll ever be talking about a Henry Ruggs as being a great receiver in the NFL. But I think Jerry Jeudy, C.D. Lamb, guys like that are basically sure things.
Yeah, yeah, and there was quite a few people saying that you look at Judy, he's the top receiver on that Bama team. He's going to get the most attention. He still had a baller ass year, which leaves Ruggs pretty much single covered the whole year. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously he's going to get more opportunities being single covered while Judy's getting doubled because you can only double one person at a time. So there's a lot of people that said that Ruggs' success comes with the success of Jerry Jeudy. So we'll see. But Davis family loves speed, and I think that's why it's even when Al Davis was alive, he did it. Now you know it's just the Raiders' mo, I guess. So Like I said, I don't think it's a bad pick, but I think you could have got Ruggs a lot later, especially the way the receivers fell. So, but if that's their guy, they got their guy. So
Yeah,
let's
I quite possibly. I think they could have, because the Raiders ended up, I think, making a trade, and they ended up with the 19th pick also.
mm-hmm.
And I think that Ruggs possibly could have been still on the board at night.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. I 100% agree. Number 13, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now this is the Jameis Winston less Bucks, and they go tackle from Iowa, Tristan Wirfs. Seems like
To me, this was.
Iowa puts
Go
out
ahead.
Iowa puts out some of the best linemen. Best linemen. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, they're in that top 3 or 4 schools that it seems like they have a badass offensive tackle come out every year. Every year.
Mm-hmm.
They just keep reloading. Maybe they're offensive tackle I guess. But
Yeah,
I
same thing could be said for Wisconsin.
yep, exactly. Exactly. And ironically enough, they're both in the Big 10. Look at that. Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
But I like this pick. I like this pick a lot. Um, I did I the other guys I really had to watch, some highlights and stuff where I did watch I think 2 or 3 Iowa games this year, so I did see this kid live, and he definitely fits the mold of that Iowa hard nose, corn fed if you will, just big ass dude that just wrecks shit, and he's very good at that. Very good at that. What do you think?
Yeah, to me, this was possibly the pick of the first round for me. As far as the Buccaneers, just kind of coming out of nowhere and trading up to get to the 13th spot, and then getting that offensive lineman, possibly the I had him as number 3 on my board, but to me there was 3 offensive linemen, and then there was a pretty significant drop off before after you got past the top 3.
Mm-hmm.
And we've obviously have heard about everything that Tampa's done here in the last month or so. Obviously bringing Tom Brady over,
Yep.
and then we just find out before the draft that Rob Gronkowski has been traded there. And so now, really, I mean, the weapons that Tom Brady has in Tampa are probably the best weapons in the entire league.
Mm-hmm.
And the only knock that you really could find on Tampa was the offensive line be able to hold up and keep Tom Brady upright. Well, they made the picks, they made the trade, were able to get to the 13th spot, and they bring in one of the best offensive linemen in the entire draft.
Yep. If you're Tom Brady, you're ecstatic, and if you're Tristan, you're like, holy fuck. I recently graduated. Now I get to play with Tom Brady, and then like you said, the couple days before Gronk's coming over. That team's loaded, and Tampa's got a legit defense. I think most of the Tampa Bay fans would agree that Jameis was good. He just gave the ball away too much, and that any good defense is going to get taxed at least by the end of the year with so many picks for doing short fields and quick turnovers and stuff like that. That's got to wear on you. So you're not going to get that with Tom Brady. He's going to manage the ball well, even at his age. He doesn't throw he doesn't throw interceptions, doesn't turn the ball over. And if you're Tristan, you're fucking stoked that with this right now, you got to be just ready to go and probably have a football boner for at least the first 3 months, I would think. But yeah, you're right. Tampa did. This was the first trade. Tampa traded up, and another trade followed that was or did they just switch? Did Tampa switch with the 49ers? Did they just flip flop 13 and 14? Is that what I'm seeing?
Yeah, I believe that
Yeah.
that's what happened. I know that San Fran was in the 13th spot because they made the trade with the Colts,
Correct.
with the Forrest Buckner trade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm trying to decipher the NFL draft ticker on NFL.com, and it's not really. I'm having a hard time with it. It was probably something super easy. I'm just looking too much into it. But yeah, the 49ers go Javon Kinlaw, D tackle from South Carolina. it's hard to find holes in that 49er team to address their draft needs, to be honest with you. And
No, and
the
you know,
defense just got better.
it's yeah, yeah.
So
And a lot of people were knocking the Buckner trade, and I mean they got a guy in Kinlaw who's young, and you're gonna have to pay. You're not gonna have to pay him even close to the amount of money that you were paying, for DeForest, and then on top, I mean, it just seems like John Lynch is like ahead of the eight ball on everything since, in this Kyle Shanahan era. I mean, it just seems like he's been ahead of everything, knows what's coming, and they pulled off the trade yesterday to bring the left tackle from Washington over. I mean, you're talking about it's a team that was in the Super Bowl last year. A young team that's not going anywhere for long, and they walk out of this draft even better than what they were, last season, and traded for one of the best left tackles in the game. And to me, I just think they're a no-brainer. They're going to be, the powerhouse of the NFC next season.
All pretty much, in my opinion, the NFC, you have to go through San Francisco. I don't care about, I'm sure Drew Brees is going to have something to say about that. I'm sure now TB12 is going to have something to say about that. But you got to beat the best to be the best. And on paper right now, I don't care. San Fran is the class of the NFC right now. All right, and Denver pick at number 15. They went Jerry Jeudy. Receiver from Alabama. And Emmanuel Sanders was traded, so they needed to bolster that offense. They now was it Gordon? Wasn't it Gordon that went to the Broncos?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So even though the running game from Denver wasn't the problem, Joe Flacco might have been part of the problem, but your boy Drew Lock is the quarterback there, correct?
He was a pleasant surprise last year. I mean, I know I've said it on here multiple times, but I think that Elway is very happy with him, and I really truly feel that he believes that he's got his guy for the future.
Well, his guy just got a number one receiver, so.
Well, they used their first two picks of this draft on receivers, and they went Jerry Jeudy here, and then in the second round went with KJ Hamler from Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that right there tells you what John Elway feels about Mr. Locke as his quarterback of the future. Because if he's using his first two picks to get him weapons and saying, here you go, bud, you're taking over now. This is your team, and I'm giving you these. I mean, two of the best, weapons in the entire draft. I think Judy's the best receiver in the draft, and then Hamler, as far as we talk about Ruggs and his speed. Well, KJ Hamler is right there.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the 4.2 speed.
Absolutely, and I shook my head when they brought Flacco over. I was confused, but the amount of effort that Elway has been trying to get a quarterback since Peyton has been, it seems like he's been spinning his wheels, and I think he finally got some traction, and now he's like, all right, kid, gonna give you some weapons, so there's no more bitching, there's no more complaining, there's no more. It's your time now. You need to produce. I've given you everything. So here it is. Let's go win some fucking games. And Denver's defense has always been badass. Always.
And their problem last year was offense. They could not score points. I mean, how many games did we watch where they were losing by less than a touchdown, and they're losing games and they're only scoring 10, 13 points?
Yep.
I mean, you can't expect to win very many games when you only score that amount of points. So it feels like he has his quarterback. He just drafts two receivers here in the first two rounds. They bring over Melvin Gordon. To me, there's no excuses now. You have the weapons to put up points. Now you just have to go out there and do it.
I 100% agree. 100% agree. And we're right about at that hour mark, so we're going to give you 2 episodes, not just one, of our amazing draft breakdown. I know you're fucking excited because I'm excited.
You're going to make me wait. You're going to make me wait on Mr. C.D. Lamb?
We can kick that off next week.
All right.
Because, 16's half, so we might as well might as well just go there. And then I mean, it'll be the perfect way to start out next week's episode with you having a little boner and you and all the Cowboys fans out there, you weirdos. But to wrap up this one, we're going to go to 16 in Atlanta Falcons. And they go A.J. Terrell from the corner from Clemson. And the Falcons, to me, they were probably one of the, aside from the Browns, the most underwhelming and just frustrating teams to watch. The receiving core is badass. And now Hooper's gone. So their defense was obviously the problem. But that's just a weird vibe and a weird team, and I can't really put my finger on it why I'm not in love with this pick. I understand that, corners are probably, aside from pass rushers, are going to be your sexy picks on defense. I get it. But I just felt there was other places that if I was the Falcons, I would have went than corner. But it's never, like we pointed out earlier, it's never a bad idea to get someone in that you can put on, an island, if you will, and be a lockdown corner. So maybe, like I said, I can't get my hands around what the Falcons are doing. I'm pretty sure no one could last year. I mean, you have one of the top two, if not the best receiver in football. You have Freeman come back from injury, so you're hoping that running back can be as good as what he was. And you have Calvin Ridley. You have Austin Hooper. I mean, the offense is there, but they didn't score a lot of points. And the defense wasn't horrible, but they gave up a lot of points. It's just a weird vibe there. So hopefully AJ can go in there and maybe help everything mesh, I guess. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I kind of was. I was kind of, I figured that they weren't going to go, because at this time CeeDee Lamb's still on the board. But I figured, they're not going to go receiver. They're already pretty loaded, receiving wise. But so I thought, at that time, that Chasen, the linebacker from LSU, is still on the board. That's where I thought that they would go. For him to fall all the way to pick 20 was really shocking to me, because I kind of thought that he would potentially could have been one of those guys to go up in the top 10 at least, and towards top 15 or so. It's just, to me, there was a couple defensive backs that you just could not go wrong with. A.J. Terrell was not one of them. There's things that I've seen, I've read on him, some of the film that I've watched on him leading up to the draft. Doing my 2Ks research that I do, year in, year out. I'm kind of same with you. I wasn't in love with him.
And just like I said, it's hard to get a feel. And
yeah,
as far as if you're looking at the sexiness and wow factor, I mean this didn't have any of it. But like I said, not every draft pick has to be sexy. I mean, it's something that, like I said, maybe he comes in and he's just the mesh point with that whole defense, and because we're not too far removed from the Falcons being in the Super Bowl and obviously blowing the Super Bowl, but they were the best team in the NFC. And I know there's been a lot of movement and players, movement and players and everything since then, but it hasn't been that long. It's not like it was 10 years ago. And
one of the big things on that is just, a couple of the coaches that left out of there. I think of Kyle Shanahan and leaving out of there, and he was the offensive coordinator during that time. A lot of people kind of talk about, like, he's one of the best coaches in the NFL now, and he's only been a head coach in the NFL for what, 3-4 years?
Yeah.
And to be considered one of the best now. I mean, we obviously know the pedigree and what he came from. Having a Hall of Fame dad as a coach. So losing him, and then also losing Matt LaFleur as his quarterback coach. I mean, pretty much everywhere that Matt has been, the quarterback position has blossomed, and that's that's the reason why he's head coach for the Green Bay Packers now.
Yeah, and we'll break down Mr. LaFleur's pick next week. But let's tie a bow on this week 2Ks. As far as anything we missed, anything that you want to add?
No, I don't think so. We haven't got to the Cowboys, so that'll be next week. So that's the most important one.
Well,
I love that pick.
for all you Bears fans, if you're wondering where your first round pick is, you drafted Khalil Mack again, which I'm not angry about.
Not a bad pick.
No,
that's not a bad pick at all.
no. I just like to remind now next year we get if they don't do anything stupid, we get a first round pick next year. So, but yeah, 2K crew, everybody stay safe. Wash your fucking hands, hand sanitizers, masks, all that stupid shit. Do it, do it, do it. Stay safe, stay healthy, and don't forget, help people that help us. Drop Anchor Tavern, Marcellus, Michigan. Get a burger. Get some. If you haven't tried their tavern chicken, it's one of their, probably their most popular sold entree there. And I want to say that and fries is like $9, and you get half a damn chicken. So, highly recommended. Give them a call, 269-646-2525. Get on their Facebook, check out the menu, and you will not be disappointed. Like I said, they support us. You support them, 2K crew. Get out and do it. Get out and do it. Tell them Turbo and 2Ks sent yo ass. And to wrap up like we always do, Jim Rome, we are coming for you, brother.